The Dome coming after Hurricane Ida was kind of a letdown. We said on Friday's show there was no excuse for the Saints to lose that game at home to the New York Football Giants. Alas, they lose in overtime 27-21. The Giants score 17 unanswered points to win the game. And statistically, Jameis Winston actually had his best game as a New Orleans Saint, completing 74% of his passes, 17 for 23 with 226 yards and a tutty, no interceptions. Actually completed 13 passes in a row at some point, but the offense did not do what they needed to do to close this game out, and the defense let Daniel Jones come up huge in several spots down the stretch. He goes for a career-high 400-plus passing yards, and he does that with two of his top targets being out in Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard. So this is a big surprise, but at the same time, I think the Saints just did not come out, at least on defense, at the same level that they have been coming out. And offensively, again, just did not do enough to put down this New York Giants football team.
Yeah, I know plenty is going to be made of the fourth quarter collapse for blowing the double-digit lead late, and rightfully so. Look, I mean, that was tough. It looked like they went a little conservative. I know Sean Payton said that wasn't the case, but it looked like it a little bit. But the Saints had numerous opportunities early in this game, and they couldn't separate, man. There's just no reason New Orleans should have only had 7 points at halftime. It felt like they ran just about every single play in plus territory in that first half, and they couldn't convert into any points, not just touchdowns, any points. You saw very clearly they do not trust Aldrick Rosas early in that game when they elected to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal. And then when you did kick the field goal, he missed it once again. So you realized why they don't have the confidence. I mean, you just left so much out there in the first half. And when you're 7-7, then you do get the 11-point lead, and you let them back in. You just let them hang around. You couldn't put them away. You lose the game. I mean,
yeah, man, you can't let it happen. And defensively, just too many mistakes from a unit that we're used to seeing be so disciplined. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore, making the money that he is, has played really well up until this point. I mean, I've even said on the Spanish broadcast, you can kind of compare it to Michael Thomas's record-breaking season after he got the contract he did at the wide receiver position. But you can't get caught peeking in the backfield and letting Saquon Barkley run right by you straight down the field for a touchdown. And then Paulson Adebo, who's been playing so well up to this point, definitely got humbled in this one, not just with the fact that they were targeting him a lot, but he missed a crucial tackle in the fourth quarter on a Giants receiver when they went down the field and tied that football game to send it into overtime. And we expected Paulson Adebo to eventually have a game like that, right? Being an NFL rookie, but definitely not against this team that was missing so many critical players, and not after we've seen him have success against some of the teams that the Saints have played and beaten, including the Green Bay Packers.
I tell you what was probably most disappointing for me on defense is the guys you let beat you. Like you said, they were without two of their top weapons, right? No Slayton, no Shepard. You know Galladay and Barkley, and Barkley's going to be a focal point of that offense anyway. I mean, the guy was with the number 2 overall pick, I believe, in his draft, somewhere. It was top 5, right? The amount of big plays he made was allowed to make in big moments is disappointing. And the same goes for Galladay, man. How was he that wide open on the third down in overtime? You know that's who they're going to with the ball because he's the only receiver worth a damn left on their team because everybody else is hurt.
Yeah.
How can you lose that guy in coverage? That's the part of what happened defensively. Same can go with Barkley out the backfield on the 54-yard touchdown. How do you lose that guy out of the backfield? That's inexcusable. That is, for me, what was most disheartening on defense for the Saints yesterday. Other than that, I thought they played an okay game on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, likewise, they held the Giants to 7 points through one half of football.
Yeah, we need to talk about the dynamic of Taysom and Jameis Winston, because I think they're kind of doing a better job of figuring it out, of when to put Taysom Hill in there, when to let him, do his thing, as he did his thing in this game, especially on that touchdown run when he broke like 4 or 5 tackles along the way. And I'm very careful, Musso, about critiquing Sean Payton's play calling and flow of the game and all that stuff. But we talked about the 13 straight completions that Jameis Winston had. When he was in the midst of that, right after he hit Kenny Stills on a beautiful touchdown pass that got negated on a penalty by Adam Troutman, you decide to put Taysom Hill in there, and you get a little bit shot happy, and he just makes a terrible decision on what I already thought was a bad call in the first place, and he decides to throw a jump ball to his 5'6" wide receiver against a 6'1" cornerback, and that is just a bad call. And I like the way they've been utilizing Taysom Hill up to this point, but I did not like that, and Sean Payton definitely made some questionable decisions in this one.
Taysom Hill should never be allowed to throw a deep ball. That should be a rule. I'm serious, because you want to let him throw short and intermediate routes? Sure. You want to let him run the ball? Absolutely. The 2 touchdown runs that Taysom Hill had were phenomenal. But that guy, he does not have the arm strength to throw the ball deep in the NFL. He doesn't. That should not happen. And even if it's not even always an arm strength issue. Sometimes he's late with the ball. It's just, that is not a part of his game. The sample size is big enough now that you should feel comfortable saying that is not a part of his game.
It's a touch thing. It's a touch thing that he lacks, that Saints fans saw out of Drew Brees for years and years before his arm strength kind of declined. And you're seeing it with Jameis Winston. Some of the passes that he made in this game, we talked about the one that was negated, but some of the ones that counted were beautiful balls. The one he had to Callaway for 50+. He had a really, really nice deep ball right in the bread bucket to Ty Montgomery in the second half of that game. He's playing really well, but looking at his passing attempts, weeks 1 through 4, 20 passes, 22 passes, 21, then 23. You definitely want to see the training wheels get taken off of Jameis a little bit. But that being said, Musso, they definitely still could have won this game if they played defense the level that they were playing defense at. And I believe Dennis Allen's group is going to bounce back. They were just out of sorts in this game for whatever reason. I don't know if they were taking the Giants lightly. I don't know if they were just not focused. If Sean Payton's philosophy of putting the yo-yos in their locker maybe backfired on them and made them quite literally be more of a yo-yo team. I don't know. It just was not there for the Saints this Sunday. But I believe they're going to get better. They're still playing defense really, really well throughout the season. I mean, they were playing championship level defense coming into this game. And you see a lot of depth on the defense too. I mean, Quan Alexander is not yet out there, and you see how good the Saints have been at weak side linebacker this year, whoever's been in there, whether it's been Zach Vaughn or Caden Ellis. And in this game, Pete Werner really introduced himself to people that weren't paying attention to him. 40 snaps in this game, finishing with 10 tackles, including a couple really nice plays. On a 2nd and goal play when the Giants were going in, getting ready to score, he read a play perfectly, pursued it to the backside, made a picture-perfect textbook tackle. Pete Werner is going to be a good player, it would seem, and he had a really good game on Sunday.
Yeah, Pete Werner was all over the place, man. You definitely had to take notice with him, and it showed off some pretty good speed as well, I thought, did Werner. Look, yeah, it's not over for the Saints at all, right? It's a 17-game season. They got a long way to go, and they're only going to get healthier and get guys back the further they go. That's how Mario, as long back as training camp, we said just avoid the catastrophe. Avoid the 1-5, right, in the first avoid the 1-4 in the first 5 games. Last week, after they beat the Patriots, said, okay, you kind of brought 4-1 into play, but we probably lean a little bit more 3-2 because it's the NFL and any given Sunday, and any given Sunday happens. So now go beat the Washington football team. Have a winning record as you go into your bye. When you get off your bye, you should get Michael Thomas back. You should get David Onyemata back, Eric McCoy, Teron Armstead, hopefully Will Lutz. For God's sake, hopefully Will Lutz. You get all those guys back. Quan Alexander is another one. And you maybe see this team return to the form that you saw them in against New England, against the Green Bay Packers, or at least somewhere in between there. I feel like the game against the Patriots is probably the most accurate depiction of what we've seen this Saints team actually be. I think that's the closest to their actual form is what you saw against New England. I don't think they're as bad, obviously, as you saw against Carolina. They're not obviously as good as you saw against Green Bay. And the Giants lost yesterday is probably a little somewhere in the middle as well. But that win against New England, I think, is the most tangible evidence of what this team actually is.
I think they still have potential to be a really high ceiling team. I mean, even in the last couple of years with these 13-3 finishes, they've started not great. Last year, 1-2 before ripping off all those wins in a row. And this year, they're going to get significantly better on offense with the addition of Will Lutz. That's going to make a huge difference as we can see. As you said, Rosas has missed 3 out of his last 4 kicks. A lot of people are surprised he's still on the team, and we know how good Willie Lutz is and how close to automatic he's been. And then Michael Thomas, Musso, is going to open up things for this offense so much. Part of me thinks that's why Sean Payton is kind of handcuffing Jameis Winston and not taking the training wheels off, because he doesn't really want to show what he's going to be able to do with this offense and with Jameis' skill set. Because as we've already seen with some of the plays that I've highlighted, you're going to be able to do a lot of things that you were not able to do for Drew Brees. And when Michael Thomas does come back, that's going to open things up for guys that are going to be much, much better as complementary pieces. Deontay Harris, who's been really good. Marquez Callaway, who's had moments, but as a number 2 guy next to Mike, I think would really shine. And this offense is going to be a completely different unit when Michael Thomas finally does come back.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Callaway complements him. So I think that's just going to be I think it's going to work out very well. You finally found your number 2 in Marquez Callaway, I do believe, and You'll get to see that on full display when Michael Thomas does return.
Saints fall to the Giants 27-21 in overtime, fall to 2-2 on the season.